Actually, I didn't have any motivation to defect from North Korea, nor did I have any particular difficulties that would make me want to defect. So it's not like I came here for that reason, but anyway, I graduated from a university in China and did trade business there. While I was doing trade, I met someone and that person asked to meet, so I went out to China. But there I was kidnapped and wasn't allowed to return home for several months. In the end, as I mentioned earlier, it was hard for me to settle my mind, so nothing really caught my attention.
At first, and then...
The food didn't suit my taste either. It was too sweet.
It seems like everyone who came from North Korea says the same thing about the food.
They say it's too sweet. The food doesn't suit their taste, and their minds feel unsettled. And also, because you wanted to study in Seoul, is it a permanent rental apartment you received in Busan? I returned it after a day and went to Seoul. And when I entered the rooftop room, I just felt so sad and lonely. Why is it that when you go out on the streets in Korea, it's never really clean? There are fallen leaves everywhere.
They're blowing around everywhere. In North Korea,
Growing up in Pyongyang, I only saw very clean streets. So at that time, the situation was really hard for me. And since I started from the very bottom and was in a dance school, there was no one to guide me or help me in any way. Starting from the very bottom, I think I mostly felt a lot of sorrow. Of course, there were also many good things. First of all, we can say what we want, right? Even if we criticize presidents, it doesn't matter. When I was in college, there was at least one state security or public security spy in each class. Even though they were students,
Things like that.
they were given missions, watched over, and then graduated from school like that. So I never really had a proper conversation with them. Since I was studying with 11th graders, I had to be extra cautious with my words. After living like that, I was really surprised when I came to South Korea and saw people saying whatever they wanted. I tried saying things like that too, and no one came to arrest me. That was so strange to me. Lee.
In the story, our viewers might misunderstand and think that Pyongyang is clean while Seoul is messy. The reason is I lived among the elite in Pyongyang, so I only went to the beautiful, well-managed places. But if you go to the outskirts of Pyongyang, it's actually terrible. I
know, because I've been around Pyongyang.
So, it's because the level of life was different. I only went to good and beautiful places. I haven't been to the outskirts of Pyongyang, but I've heard that outside the city conditions are truly miserable. Which district did you live in at home, Botonggang?
I lived in that district. If you compare it to here, it's like Gangnam.
Yes, I guess it's similar to Gangnam. The windows at home were made of glass, right?
Yes, they were made of glass.
Look around, they're made of vinyl. This shows how little people know. Although I lived in Pyongyang, I only visited wealthy areas, so I was unaware of the surroundings. So when I came to our country and ate things with leaves, I thought it made me dizzy, but in North Korea, even the basics are like that.
Everything is strictly managed.
Isn't that right? That's why it was like that. That's why it was difficult because of things like that. You let me put it into words, right?
And I think all the North Korean defectors who came here must feel the same way. How should I live in this unfamiliar land? Who should I trust? And how should I find my path? It was really difficult.
That's right. Especially since you used to eat well and live well, and you were living happily within the safety of your family, but then suddenly had to stand on your own.
You had to do that, that's right.
It seems like there was a bit more loneliness.
Back then, it was really terrifying, but looking back now, I think going through that process made me stronger and more resilient. I believe that experience shaped me into an optimist, although it was very challenging then.
I'm conducting this interview in my office. We'll tour the office later, but since it's raining, you may hear some rain sounds. I ask for your understanding. So, how did you overcome those difficulties?
I faced them head on.
Just ups and downs.
I've been through all kinds of battles, on land, at sea, close combat, aerial battles, facing them all head on, so I got really exhausted. But looking back, I think I was blessed with good people, and I was also lucky. There were always good people around me who taught me, cared for me, and guided me, and I think that's how I was able to come this far. I think it's a world where we go together.
That's right. As far as I know, you are the first journalist among North Korean defectors in our country.
Yes, at that time I worked as a Korean Broadcasting System broadcast journalist for about 4 years. Back then, Korean Broadcasting System unusually hired a North Korea specialist journalist, and I got in after beating 300 to 1 odds.
At that time,
Do you think I did well? Why? Reporters who had been covering North Korea for a long time also took the test. And I know that even PhDs, those who had been researching North Korea for a long time, all came out at that time. However, I graduated from Kim Seong Comprehensive University in North Korea and defected at the age of 25, so I think I was lucky to pass because of things like uniqueness or those kinds of factors.
I think so. And
I think enduring Korean broadcasting system was purely my own effort. And although I was lacking, I was guided a lot by good seniors around me. So I was able to enjoy being a North Korea specialist reporter at Korean broadcasting system for 4 years. At that time,
I heard there were a lot of hot issues that came out at that time.
that's right. At that time, I had just finished my 2-month probation and started, and the very next day, the Jang Song-tak incident broke out. But I didn't know that's what reporters do. My boss jotted down some questions and told me to go out there. I'm not sure what to say. Should I just state what I know? So that's how I experienced my first time, and even now when I look back at that report, it's still really funny. Exactly in the Pyongyang dialect of North Korea.
I did, so
It even ranked #1 on Naver's search rankings.
maybe that's why it was appealing.
Real North Korea.
A real person came and is talking about North Korea,
We are in South Korea.
so it might be more convincing than someone who just got their PhD at a desk.
that's right.
There might have been some credibility and things like that, but looking back now, I feel pretty shy about it too.
If you want to be a reporter, you have to go on broadcast and things like that, right?
That intonation and tone.
How do I handle things like this?
What if I already broadcasted it? There were hundreds of comments, and when you searched for Park Jin on Naver, it was the #1 search result.
It went up in my whole life.
Few can reach the top of Naver search rankings. My accent was the reason for my success. But people would comment that when I say Jangseung-taek, I pronounce it as Jongseung-taek.
That's what they say. Like when I say squid,
They said it sounded like Ujing-oh back then. But if you meet other North Korean defectors, they pronounce it like I do.
Just like I do.
But then, the head of the department in North Korea changed, and the new head was like this. He said, "It's great that you're from Pyongyang and delivering the news in the Pyongyang dialect, but since this is Korean broadcasting system and a public broadcaster, how about doing the broadcast in standard Korean?" So for about a month, I received training from a senior announcer who is now a commentator at Korean broadcasting system.
I received training, but
They didn't really teach me much, but at some point my intonation had changed.
let's ask the manager. I also spoke standard language in North Korea, so why are you saying this?
When North Koreans speak, people call it a dialect, but Pyongyang speech is actually the standard language. However, that chart exaggerates the differences.
So then, did you start changing it to standard language like that? Yes, that's right.
So, I worked as a reporter. The former manager and some seniors would ask me, "Did you really do this?"
how did you manage to do it like this?
They were surprised at how much things could change, even though I didn't make any big adjustments. Just things like the pitch or tone. I think the commentator said that at the time. When people hear your reports, it seems like they emphasize that they absolutely have to listen to them. They told me that if I just pause at certain paragraphs, people can hear it better, so I should do it that way. So, with just one report, they had me read it, I recorded it, then I practiced alone and kept fixing it like that.
If you want to be a reporter, don't you have to travel to a lot of different regions?
As a reporter focusing on North Korea, I report on the Ministry of Unification, interview field experts and professors, and speak with many North Korean defectors.
When you go around for interviews like that, you know how it is. When you were in North Korea, you believed there were many beggars in South Korea.
But in reality,
How did you feel after actually coming here and seeing for yourself?
I really looked like a beggar.
There were a lot of them and it was like that.
I was surprised. Yes, they even show up briefly in North Korean dramas and movies. The way beggars dress.
That kind of clothing.
There's not a single person like that, not even the homeless, and even the homeless don't wear such ragged clothes. And they put things like baskets like this. If you look there, you'll see things like for the visually impaired.
They write things like that?
Rather than seeing them as beggars, they looked more like people who needed to share something. I thought, wow, this is exaggerated. The whole system is so harsh and overblown.
What I can relate to is that we also have homeless people in our country.
It's not that we don't have them.
We can't say there aren't any. Honestly, at places like Seoul Station or Suwon Station, there are homeless people.
There are a lot of them, but
The living standards of the homeless are similar to the living standards of North Korean farmers and agricultural workers.
they're similar. This
Is not to compare or belittle anyone, but the beggars in South Korea that we knew about in North Korea
The reality is entirely different. If you simply compare the clothes
with a North Korean beggar,
and a South Korean beggar,
even the clothes.
were different, and even the skin color was different, right?
That's right. While living as the first North Korean defector journalist in South Korea,
Honestly, those kinds of
getting into major broadcasters like Korean Broadcasting System, Munhwa Broadcasting Corporation, or Seoul Broadcasting System was a huge accomplishment.
wasn't it? It used to be such a big deal. But then why?
Are you now at your business instead of those broadcasting stations?
How?
Did that happen?
At that time, I was a broadcast reporter, and since I was covering my assigned beat, most broadcast reporters had to arrive at their beat between 6:30 and 7 o'clock.
that's how it is. Then
I don't think I've ever sat at home with wet hair up, doing my makeup. I put a little bit of toner, lotion, essence, and cream into small containers and dangerously do my makeup while driving.
I went to the checkpoint.
At that time, what I thought was, is there a cosmetic product that can solve all these troublesome steps at once?
Isn't there one? But
I started to take an interest. As I found out, there were a lot of famous Japanese sheet masks and skincare products that solve everything with just one herbal formula. So I tried them and they were good. But the problem was I had to put the steering wheel down and stick the mask on my face like this, which was really dangerous.
that's what happened to me.
Isn't there a way to pull out the mask pack and have it unfold at the same time? As I was coming up with ideas like this, I suddenly thought that I wanted to make and sell cosmetics myself. Ah, I see. So just like my husband said, hey, why did you quit your dream job?
For that business?
He kept asking, when will you make money? Why do this? But I wanted it so badly that I quit working at Korean Broadcasting System.
I took the business seriously.
I started the business.
When you start, I think there are quite a few people around you who try to stop you.
There wasn't a single person who said it would work. I said I was going to make a pull-out mask pack, and at that time I thought I should make this kind of pull-out mask pack to improve on the shortcomings of single-use mask packs and pull-out mask packs. Back then I took that idea to Colmer and Cosmex. I went to all of them. They said they couldn't make it.
Even if they made this,
They claimed it wouldn't sell and that new machines were needed to make it. Since I couldn't guarantee sales volumes, they asked who would make these machines for you. They deemed it impossible. Everyone tried to stop me. My husband was the first, and everyone around me said it wouldn't work.
You quit your dream job and took on the challenge of starting a business. How did it turn out?
Now, the pull-out mask pack is ranked #1 on Naver for mask packs.
So our company...
The company is currently being maintained thanks to the pull-out mask pack. But if you look at it, it's not a very special idea. It's just that we improved on the existing shortcomings, and when we did that, people found it convenient.
It gets better, so...
They really liked it.
So are you only using mask packs? Or are you doing something else as well?
Now I've developed a new ingredient. I've developed a new cosmetic product using medicinal herbs that are good for problematic skin, such as dandruff, itching, or body itchiness. I developed the ingredient and I'm now making specialized cosmetics for problematic skin by adding it to products like shampoo, scalp treatments, and essences.
Let's take a look. Nokchohyup Argan Protein Treatment Hair Pack, like this.
That's how it is. Nokchohyup means...
It's a name I came up with. Green tea.
오성초 자서엽,
from Chukbakyup, there are 8 kinds of
I developed this Nokchohyup ingredient by combining the extracts in the most effective combinations. Of course, I have also applied for a patent and registered the trademark, so this is a cosmetic product that can be used when you have a lot of dandruff or an itchy scalp.
I've actually tried this myself, since my scalp isn't in great condition either, and it does have some effect, but I think I need to use it a bit more to see the full results. If you look 98.
This contains 98% of the ingredients I developed, and the other 2% is preservatives.
So for now...
It's made with natural ingredients, and the scent isn't that pleasant either.
It smells like herbs, but...
But it's not so strong that you can't go about your daily life. Yes, that's right, it's not unpleasant. But if you just apply it to your scalp like this. Basically, this product helps with dandruff and itching. You put it in here, and now this has become a dandruff shampoo. So if you have any problems or your scalp is really itchy, you definitely need to try using this set.
Now that I see, there are actually quite a lot of people with scalp issues, scalp damage, and also those who have itching, more than I expected.
There are so many.
When I looked at it myself up close, it was really stressful for me too.
It's painful. So
I'm using this and keep applying it occasionally, just a little bit.
if you apply it diligently, it'll improve.
Yes, I understand. There must be a reason why you started this business, right? You didn't just start it without any thought. The mask while working as a reporter and driving that.
The reports were stressful.
Receiving them and printing them out to use.
You imagined a pack.
You put it into practice. But how did you suddenly decide to do this?
That's right, I feel the same way. Like Cheol 1, my scalp also broke out, and this...
While running my business, the stress.
As I kept getting stressed, my scalp broke out, my head was itchy, and it felt like something was always there.
I had dandruff falling out. The important thing is,
Even if I scratched it, it wouldn't improve, and I'd scratch it in my sleep.
so even my sleep,
I couldn't even sleep properly.
I was really upset about it.
I went to the hospital, tried prescription medicine, Lee-Cherun shampoo, dandruff shampoo. I tried nearly everything. I went to the hair salon for scalp treatment, but the itchiness would return after just 30 minutes. It simply wouldn't improve. But I'm someone who came from North Korea, and I think I have a strong North Korean mindset. In North Korea, it's all about herbal medicine, right? Folk remedies and things like that. So I looked up herbs that are good for the scalp, extracted them myself. I was in so much pain that I was desperate to take any action. So I applied it, and it really didn't itch anymore. Yes, when I extracted green tea and applied it, it didn't itch. Oh, I thought, this is interesting. Then I kept searching and searching for other extracts, and after years of research, I created the combination of herbs that goes into this scalp tonic. And if you put too much of something in, your hair again...
It's greasy, and even the extracts.
Each has its own traits. In my view, this is best. So right now, honestly, I don't get any scalp care or anything like that. First of all, my...
Problem has been resolved.
It's been resolved, since it's not itchy anymore.
He lived as part of the elite in North Korea, and now he's running his own business in South Korea. Instead of just sitting and talking, let's go around the site ourselves. That was my original idea. Let's visit the site and see how other North Korean defectors live.
It's about showing a bit of their lives.
Let's wrap up the sitting and talking here and take a look around as we walk.
Shall we? All right.
Does 139 mean September 2013? Does it have a special meaning like in North Korea?
Each sheet is convenient, with a triple layered fabric and 9 hours of moisture retention.
I developed it in September 2013, so it's 13 and 9. No, that's not it.
I guess you could think that way too.
There are so many things like that in North Korea.
But
But when I recall how we used to dissect frogs during biology experiments and observe them here.
Frog.
That's right, the belly.
what is this?
Is this a kimchi refrigerator?